If you are seeing this video for the first time, I am Teja and I have around 10 plus years of experience and I'm working as a technical team lead right now. In this video, let's have a discussion on what is RAG and how can we create a first RAG and what are vector database and what is the importance of vector database in the creation of RAG. So what is RAG? So RAG is Retrieve-Augmented Generation. So we are clear from the abbreviation, right? No. So let us try to understand the use cases so that we can get a better understanding of what is RAG. Company or organization is going to have a lot of policies, so you can create a RAG with those policies. And if someone want to query those policies, if someone want to query those policies from the RAG, they can query and you can get the answers. You may get some query like, so we can also search it on the PDF, right? So without any RAG, then what is the use of having a RAG? So let us try to understand that with some example. So for suppose if you have two questions. So I want to create a Google account. I mean how to create a Google account and I want steps to create a Google account. These two gives the same kind of meaning. If you have a PDF which is written in a way how to create a Google account, and if I am searching my answer in a way I want the steps to create a Google account, so it is not going to search for it, because your PDF search is going to have a keyword search. You are searching with the words. But if you give this same two questions to the RAG, so RAG can answer them, because in the RAG we are going to use meaningful search. So in RAG we do a mechanism called meaningful search. So that is also called as semantic search or similarity search. So RAG can understand the meaning of the question you are asking and it can search for the answer which are available in the knowledge base. Okay, now let us try to understand the architecture of RAG. So if you want to create a RAG, so we will be using a open source framework which is LangChain. So LangChain is an open source framework which is widely popular and used in the AI implementations. So when you want to create your RAG, so first you need to understand what kind of documents you have. So first you have to figure out documents. So what kind of documents you have? So those can be PDF and those can be text files or those can be images or those can be anything. We can create RAG on anything. So you need to figure out what kind of documents you want to create a RAG. So once you confirmed on the documents we are available to create a RAG, so we need to load these documents to the LangChain framework. So we are going to load the documents. So once you load the documents, so you have to split those documents into multiple chunks. Chunks are nothing but splittings. So you have to split those documents into smaller chunks or smaller parts. The next one would be chunking, or it is also called as splitting. Let me maximize. Okay. And once you have those chunks created, so you will be converting the chunks into the embedded vectors. So you will be converting those chunks into the vectors by using embedded models. So what are embedded models? So we have heard about LLMs in the chat GPT, right? So we have LLMs from ChatGPT, so we have LLMs from Gemini, and we have LLMs from Anthropic. So those are all the LLMs which are used for their application. For the embedding also, there are some models which are available in the market. So we will be using a embedded model which is available in the Google. So we will be using embedded model which are available in the Google Cloud account, GCP. So what this embedding will do? So it will convert each chunk into a vector format. It will convert each chunk into a vector format. So when you are converting your chunks into the vector format, you are converting the meaning of your chunk into the vector format. It is with numbers. It is with numbers. And once you have converted your data or the chunks into the vector, so you have to store that in the vector database. So you will be storing that in the vector database. So there are a lot of databases available for the vector database. If you are doing it on your local for the development stuff, Chroma is the popular one, and FAISS is also another popular one. So if you want to productionize your RAG, so there are other vector databases like PG Vector, Pinecone and all. But for practice stuff, if you want to create the vector database on your local, these are more than enough. So the process of all these steps is called as creating our knowledge base. So if you remember, our main goal is to query our documents. So if you want to query our documents, so we need to create a knowledge base. So this knowledge base will have all the details about our policies. In our case, we are creating a RAG for our organization policies. So your knowledge base is going to have all the details of your policies which are stored in the form of vectors in the vector database. So what we have to do now? So the first step would be figuring out what documents your organization is having for the policies, whether it is text file, whether it is PDF, and then we have to load those files, and then we have to convert those files into chunks or splits, and then the chunking has to be converted into the vectors. This vector is going to be done by using embedded models. So embedded models are nothing but the same LLM models you are seeing in the AI applications, but these models are not going to generate data. These models are going to convert your meaning of your chunk to the vector database. I mean vectors, not vector database. So once you have these vectors created by using embedding model, those will be stored in the vector database, and we are going to query this vector database to get our answers. So once the RAG is created, whenever you ask some query, so the query will be searched on this vector database by using similarity search or semantic search. Okay, let us try to have some architecture diagram which I have already written. Let's have a look at it. So this is our whole architecture, RAG architecture, that we are going to create by using LangChain. And the first step would be loading the documents and then splitting them into chunks. So if your PDF is going to have 100 files or 100 pages, so each page will be created as a each chunk. That's for an example. We have lot of mechanisms for the chunking, but that is one case of example. So when you created chunks from the folders or the PDF files, so those will be converted into vectors. So these are the vectors. So how these are created? By using embedding model. These embedding models are available in cloud providers. These are available from other AI applications as well. We will be using GCP embedding models. Okay, once you have these vectors created, my bad, 1 minute. Once you have these vectors created, these vectors will be stored in the vector database. So once you store those vectors in the vector database, so now we have the knowledge base readily available. And the next thing is searching it. So if you look at this next section, so you will be querying your vector database. So when you query this vector database, so again your question will be embedded into the vectors. Your question will be converted into the vectors, and these vectors are going to search for the nearby vectors in the vector database. So even when you are querying the vector database, your question will be converted into the vectors, because in our vector database, what is data available? The vector numbers. So even your question has to be converted into the vector database. Sorry, even your question has to be converted into vectors so that you can search the vectors in the vector database. And then you will get an answer, and those will be provided to the LLM. This is not embedded LLM. This is a normal large language model which can generate data. So why we are getting this LLM involved? Because it will fine grade your answers which are coming from the vector database and provided, and it will give you a best answer for you. So why LLM is involved here? Because the vectors which are coming from the vector database, or the answers coming from the vector database, will be given to the LLM, so that LLM can fine grade your answers and provide us as an output. I hope we are clear about the RAG architecture. So in the next session, we are going to create this whole RAG by using LangChain. So if you have any queries on any of these sections, like how we can load and how we can split and how we can use embeds. So if you have any queries on the section, so please comment in the comment box. If you want any detailed explanation on the single steps, so I'm going to try to create a new video or try to answer it on the comment section. Thank you so much for watching.